Visual Studio Code for Python. There are a lot of great tools out there for working with a Python programming language, but in this course, I'm going to be use Visual Studio Code. It has great support for a Python editing. It is free and it's run on macOS, Windows, and Linux. It also has a wide variety of plugins available, which will help when working with a Python. If you want to use VS Code along with me in this course, then download and install it from code.visualstudio.com. And again, I just want to state here that VS Code is not requirement for this course. You can use any text editor that you want. And in the previous video, we saw how to run example file directly from the terminal, so you can go that route if you prefer. It will still very easy to follow along with the rest of this course, no matter which editor that you use. So once you have Visual Studio Code installed, launch it and click on the extension icon. Okay, so here I have Visual Studio Code launched and the extension icon is the little guide down here in the corner of the box, and I'm going to click on it and we are going to install the Python extension. So I'm going to up here in the search box, I'm going to search for the word Python. Alright, and the first result that comes up the top on here is probably the one that you want. You can see it made by Microsoft and it has tons of download and a very good rating, and it is not absolutely necessary for you to use this plugin. But I like it because it adds support for debugging and running Python apps right from within VS Code. So go ahead and install this, and you can see that I have already got installed. So if we go back to my system, you can see that I already installed here. Now VS Code may ask you to restart after install. So if it asks you to reload the window, go ahead and then we are going to set up few preference and setting. That will make VS Code a lot easier to use. So when we go ahead and close this, go back to my file view here. So let's first make sure that VS Code is using the version of Python that you installed. Now usually this is set up for you, but let's make certain. So first we are going to open the tutorial folder as a VS Code project, and you can either click on this open folder button here or here in the file menu. You can choose open folder or you can drag and drop the folder onto the editor. So I want to go ahead and choose open folder, and I'm going to go to my desktop, choose Python tutorial folder and click. Okay, now my Python tutorial file folder in open. So then we are going to open up the hello world.py file. This is going to cache VS Code to active Python extension. And you might get a welcome page that kind of looks something like this. It might look similar, it might not. Don't worry too much about it. Alright, what important is this down here in the status bar, you should see the Python interpreter that VS Code is using. And if you click on this text, you will get this little menu up here, and you can see that I have a few different versions of Python installed. Just select the one that has the latest version number, in my case 3.10.1, and you should find. So that's how you set up the Python interpreter that VS Code is going to use. It should be right here in the status bar. Okay. Next, we are going to open up the setting for VS Code, and you can type command plus comma on macOS or control plus comma on Windows, or you can usually find it in the menu on macOS here, code preference setting. On Windows, it is going to be under the preference settings. So I'll go ahead and open my settings, alright, and then in the search box, I'm going to search for preference named execute in file dir, and that's this preference here, execute in the file directory. Make sure this preference is checked. This preference tells VS Code to look in the same directory as the program source file when it need to work with other file. So it is just worth setting now, and let's close this and let's close this. So after that, we are going to click on this icon here in the toolbar, and you can see it is called the run icon. It is got a little picture of bug with a right facing triangle. It look like a play symbol. So we are going to click on that, and now that we need to do is create what called a launch configuration, and this will tell VS Code how to run Python programs for debugging. So you can click on this link here. It says create a launch.json file, and when you do this, you are going to be prompted for the type of environment, and you should choose Python, okay, because Python is what we are working in, alright, and you should get a JSON file that looks something like this. So if you are prompted to choose the environment, choose Python, and if you don't see an option for a Python because Python is not currently installed, so if that happens, you might want to reinstall Python. So if you are prompted for a configuration type, choose the one that says Python file. This will create the launch.json file here, and you can pretty much leave it as it is. There are couple of changes I recommended that you might want to make. First, if your launch.json file does not contain a CWD enter, then you can add on that look like this. So I'm going to type CWD and then going to type in $, and then in the curly braces I'm going to type file, and then with a capital D dir name, alright. So CWD means current working directory, and this line tells VS Code to set the working directory to the same one that the current Python file is in. The other change that you can optionally make is this. I'm going to write stop on entry, and I'm going to set that to true. Okay. This will tell the debugger to automatically pause when the Python program starts up in the debugger, even if you don't have breakpoint set. So one thing to keep in mind here is that VS Code is under active development, and some things the user interface change, so it might not look exactly like this in your version. You can find the documentation for how to set up VS Code for Python debugging. Find link in the description below. So let's go back over to the browser, and this link here is on you want to look at. So if any of this looks different for you, or if you need additional help, then just follow the direction on this link, and that will help you get set up for debugging in Visual Studio Code.